Hello? My girlfriend texted me. My ex is staying with us for a while. There's nothing to discuss. I didn't argue. I simply replied, no problem, packed my things, and moved out that same night. I sent the landlord her contact information, and when rent day arrived, reality hit her hard. I'm Nate, 32M. My girlfriend, Lauren, 29F. We'd been together a little over 3 years and living together for just under one. This happened on a Tuesday night, right after dinner, while I was loading the dishwasher. She was leaning against the counter scrolling on her phone, already irritated about something. She'd been like that a lot lately. Short fuse, constant sighing, talking to me like I was an inconvenience instead of her partner. Out of nowhere, she said, so just a heads up, my ex is staying with us for a while. I stopped rinsing a plate. What? She didn't look up. He's in between places. It's temporary. I waited for the part where she asked how I felt, or explained, or acknowledged how insane that sounded. Instead, she added, this isn't up for discussion, by the way. That was the tone she used when she talked to customer service reps. Flat. Final. Like I was an obstacle, not a person. I asked how long a while was. She shrugged. However long it takes. Don't be dramatic. You know we're just friends now. This was the same ex she'd sworn was toxic. The same one she claimed cheated on her twice. The same one whose name still popped up on her phone more than she was comfortable explaining. I looked at her and realized something strange. I wasn't angry. I said, no problem. That finally got her attention. She looked up, surprised, then smiled like she'd won. See? I knew you'd be mature about it. I dried my hands on a towel, walked into the bedroom, and started packing. She laughed from the kitchen. What are you doing? Getting out of the way, I said. She thought I was bluffing. By the time she realized I wasn't, my bags were already by the door, and she still had no idea what the rent situation actually looked like without me. I packed faster than I thought I would. Not in a dramatic, throwing things into a bag way. Calm. Methodical. Like my body had already accepted a decision my mind was just catching up to. Lauren hovered in the doorway at first, arms crossed, watching me like I was being childish. You're seriously doing this? She asked. Over my ex crashing here for a bit? I didn't answer. I folded shirts, grabbed my laptop, my charger, my documents from the nightstand drawer she never opened because it was too messy. She scoffed. God, Nate, you're so insecure. He's literally got nowhere else to go. I zipped the bag and finally looked at her. Then he's lucky you volunteered my home. She rolled her eyes hard enough I thought they might get stuck. It's our place. That almost made me laugh. The lease was in both our names, but the rent? The utilities? The internet? All me. Lauren liked to say she was between financial phases. That phase had lasted almost the entire time we lived together. She followed me into the living room, still talking, still framing this like I was the unreasonable one. You said no problem, she reminded me. Now you're storming out? I meant it, I said. No problem. For me. That seemed to short-circuit her. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. You're overreacting, she said finally. You'll be back once you cool off. I grabbed my second bag and headed for the door. Don't be dramatic, she added. I'm not choosing him over you. I paused with my hand on the knob. You already did. You just didn't think it counted if you didn't say it out loud. She laughed, sharp and dismissive. You're being ridiculous. I stepped into the hallway. Behind me, she called out, annoyed more than concerned. Just text me when you're done with your little tantrum. I didn't respond. I walked down the stairs, bags in hand, knowing two things for certain. One, I wasn't coming back. And two, she had absolutely no idea what tomorrow was going to look like without me covering the boring parts of her life. I crashed on my buddy Chris's couch that night. He didn't ask questions beyond beer, and you good? Which was exactly what I needed. I slept deeper than I had in months. At 7:12 a.m., my phone started vibrating like it was trying to crawl off the table. Lauren. Missed calls stacked up fast. Then texts. Are you serious right now? You didn't even stay to talk. This is childish. I stared at the screen, waiting for the one message that mattered. An apology. Maybe I handled that wrong. It never came. Instead, at 7:26, she sent. So when are you coming back? That was the moment I realized she truly believed this was temporary. That I'd sleep it off, come home, and quietly accept her decision like I always did. I didn't reply. On my lunch break, I called the landlord. Calm voice. Professional. I explained that I was vacating the apartment effective immediately and that all future communication and payments would go through Lauren. He paused. You're sure? You've been the primary contact. I'm sure, I said. I'll email her details right now. I forwarded Lauren's number and email. CC'd her, so there was no confusion. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up again. Why did the landlord just email me? I replied with the same energy she'd used on me the night before. Just a heads up. This isn't up for discussion. Typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Are you trying to punish me? I didn't answer. This wasn't punishment. It was alignment. That evening, she sent another message. Short, different tone. He's already here. I pictured it instantly. Her ex settling into the space I paid for, the couch I bought, the utilities I covered. I imagined her confidence, the way she'd assumed I'd keep funding normalcy no matter how uncomfortable she made it. She still thought she was in control. Rent day was in 4 days. And for the first time since we moved in together, I wasn't going to be there to catch her when reality landed. By that afternoon, Lauren's confidence started cracking around the edges. She texted me like nothing had happened. Can you send me the Wi-Fi password? I stared at it for a second before replying. It's in the email account you never check. She didn't respond for a while. Then, why is the internet bill in your name anyway? That question said more than she realized. Around 6 p.m., she called. I let it ring twice before answering. What is going on? She demanded. No greeting. No concern. The landlord emailed me about rent and utilities. Why am I suddenly the point of contact? Because I moved out, I said. And I stopped paying. There was a pause, like her brain was buffering. You can't just do that, she said. We live together. No, I replied. You told me your ex lives with you now. I adjusted. Her tone sharpened immediately. This is about control. You're trying to scare me. I almost laughed. Lauren, if you were scared, you would have asked me how I felt before moving another man in. She snapped back. You're being petty. I stayed calm. I'm being consistent. She started listing things, how unfair this was, how inconvenient, how I was blindsiding her. She said rent was due soon and she hadn't budgeted for all of it. That was the first time she sounded unsure. You'll figure it out, I said, using her exact words from the night before. This isn't up for discussion. She went quiet. Then she said, softer, you said no problem. I meant it, I replied. It stopped being my problem. She hung up without saying goodbye. Later that night, she texted again. He says I'm overreacting. He'll help a little. That's when it really hit her. Not that I left. Not that I took my money with me. But that the man she moved in didn't come with a safety net. Rent day was getting closer. And suddenly, a while felt very expensive. The day before rent was due, Lauren showed up at my work. No warning this time. No texts. Just her standing in the lobby like she'd been wronged by gravity itself. The receptionist messaged me asking if I was expecting someone. I wasn't, but I went down anyway. She looked tired. Not sad. Stressed. Hair pulled back. Arms folded tight. Phone clutched like evidence. We need to talk, she said the moment she saw me. I nodded. Okay. That surprised her. She followed me outside, already launching into it. You didn't tell me you were paying everything, she said. Rent, utilities, internet, everything. You made it sound like we were splitting it. We were, I said. I just covered your half. She scoffed. That's not the same thing. It is when the bills are due, I replied. She paced a little, heels clicking on concrete. He said he'd help, but he can't right now. He's still looking for work. I waited. Didn't interrupt. Let the silence stretch until she filled it. So I just think it's messed up that you left me like this, she continued. You didn't have to abandon me. I looked at her. Really looked. Lauren, you told me your ex was moving in and that it wasn't up for discussion. That's different, she snapped. That was emotional. This is financial. I almost smiled. So you agree, I said. The boring stuff matters. Her mouth opened, then closed. She changed tactics fast. Can you just cover this month? She asked. Softer now. Just this one. So I have time. I shook my head. No. Her face hardened instantly. Wow. So that's it. You're just done? I was done when you replaced me and expected me to keep paying, I said. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. As she walked away, she muttered, I never thought you'd actually leave. I didn't follow her. Didn't correct her. Because I hadn't just left. I'd stopped carrying what she volunteered away. And tomorrow morning, the landlord would be expecting rent. No discussions, no excuses, no safety net. Just reality, knocking right on time. Rent day came quietly. No dramatic knock. No sirens. Just an email notification hitting Lauren's inbox at 9:03 a.m. I know the exact time because she texted me at 9:07. Did you seriously tell the landlord you're not paying? I was already at work, coffee half finished, inbox open. I replied calmly. I told him I moved out. That's accurate. 3 dots appeared immediately. This is insane. He's expecting the full amount. I waited a full 5 minutes before responding. Not to be cruel, just to let reality finish its sentence. Yes. That's when the calls started. Back to back. I declined all of them. 10 minutes later, another text came through, longer this time. Okay, listen. We can talk about him leaving. This doesn't have to blow up like this. There it was. The first actual negotiation. Not about boundaries. Not about respect. About money. I replied once. You said it wasn't up for discussion. She didn't respond right away. At 10:22, she sent a voice memo. I didn't listen to it. I could already imagine the tone. Controlled panic wrapped in frustration, trying to sound reasonable while the ground shifted underneath her. At lunch, Chris checked in. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. And for the first time, it wasn't a lie. At 2:15 p.m., Lauren texted again. He can't help. He thought I had this handled. That sentence said more than she realized. She told him what she told me, that it was handled, that it wasn't a problem, that she was in control. At 4:40, the landlord emailed her again, copying me by mistake. Please confirm payment by end of business day to avoid late fees. She immediately texted me. Can you please just spot me until next week? I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I replied. No. She didn't respond after that. And for the rest of the afternoon, my phone stayed silent. Not because things were resolved, but because there was nothing left she could say that would change the math. She invited someone else to live with her. Now she was living with the consequences too. The silence didn't last long. That evening, Lauren posted on Instagram. A blurry photo of a wine glass on the counter, captioned, "When life forces you to see people for who they really are." Comments rolled in fast. Hearts. You deserve better. Men ain't shit. The usual crowd. Her ex commented with a flexed bicep emoji. That part would have annoyed me a week ago. Now it just felt predictable. Around 8 p.m., she texted again. Different tone. Less sharp. The landlord says if I can't pay by Friday, he's issuing a notice. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later. I'm not saying this is your fault, but you didn't have to make it this hard. That one actually made me laugh. Out loud. I replied once. You made a unilateral decision. I respected it. She called immediately. I answered this time. You're enjoying this, she accused, voice tight. You want me to struggle? No, I said. I want distance. This is just what distance looks like. She snapped back. You could have talked to me first. I kept my voice even. You told me it wasn't up for discussion. She went quiet. Then tried something else. He's willing to leave, she said quickly. We can go back to normal. Normal. The word hung there. Normal was me paying while you decided. I replied. I'm not going back to that. Her voice broke. Not emotionally, but strategically. So what? You're just abandoning me. I moved out, I said. You moved someone in. She hung up. Later that night, Chris told me something that stuck. Man, he said, she didn't want a partner. She wanted infrastructure. I went to bed thinking about that word. Infrastructure doesn't get thanked. It only gets noticed when it's gone. And by now, Lauren was starting to notice. By Thursday, the cracks turned into full-blown fractures. Lauren showed up at Chris's place unannounced. I wasn't home yet, but Chris texted me a heads up. She's here. Not calm. When I walked in 20 minutes later, she was sitting on the arm of the couch like she owned it, phone in hand, leg bouncing. Her ex wasn't with her. That felt important. Oh, so this is where you ran off to, she said, scanning the room like she was taking inventory. I didn't run, I replied. I relocated. She snorted. Cute. Chris made an excuse and disappeared into his bedroom. Smart man. Lauren launched right in. I had to borrow money from my sister. I waited. She asked why. Lauren continued, clearly offended by that fact alone. I didn't know what to say. That sounds uncomfortable, I said. Her eyes narrowed. You're enjoying this. I shook my head. You keep saying that. I'm not enjoying it. I'm just not fixing it. She stood up. You really don't care anymore, do you? I cared when you told me your ex was moving in and shut me down. I replied. You just didn't need my care then. She crossed her arms. He's leaving. That doesn't change anything. Her face twisted in frustration. Why not? That's what you wanted. I met her eyes. No. What I wanted was a partner who didn't make life-altering decisions and tell me to deal with it. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For a second, she looked genuinely lost. Then she snapped back into herself. So what? You're perfect now. No, I said. I'm just done. She laughed bitterly. You're going to regret this. Maybe, I said. But I won't regret staying silent when I was told my opinion didn't matter. She grabbed her bag and headed for the door. Before leaving, she turned back. You really screwed me, she said. I answered honestly. You screwed yourself. I just stopped holding things together. When the door closed behind her, the apartment felt lighter. And for the first time, I realized the chaos wasn't following me anymore. It was staying with her. Friday morning came with a kind of quiet that only shows up after chaos runs out of leverage. No texts, no calls, no last-minute guilt bombs. I heard what happened later, from the landlord, actually. He called to confirm a few final details and, casually, mentioned Lauren had been frantic. Asked about extensions, late fees, payment plans. Apparently, she tried explaining that her financial situation had changed suddenly. Funny how sudden it feels when the person carrying it stops. By noon, she texted me again. Short, flat. He moved out. I stared at it for a moment, then locked my phone. An hour later, another message came through. I didn't think it would get this bad. That one almost worked. Almost. If it had come days earlier. Before the dismissal. Before the not up for discussion. Before she learned the hard way that independence is expensive when you outsource responsibility. I replied once. I did. That evening, I ran into one of her friends at a bar. She gave me a look like I was the villain in a story she'd only heard half of. She's really struggling, the friend said. She didn't expect you to just leave like that. I nodded. She told me to adjust. I did. The friend hesitated, then said, quieter, she thought you'd stay no matter what. That sentence explained everything. Lauren didn't miscalculate the situation. She miscalculated me. She thought love meant tolerance without limits. That stability meant silence. That I'd keep paying, emotionally and financially, because it was easier than disruption. By the time I got home, I realized something important. The relationship didn't end when I moved out. It ended when she realized I wasn't coming back to clean up the mess she made alone. By the following Monday, everything was officially done. No more messages. No more indirect attempts to pull me back in. The landlord confirmed Lauren had scraped together enough to cover part of the rent and negotiated a short extension for the rest. It wasn't my problem anymore, but the finality of it still landed. A mutual friend filled in the gaps I didn't ask for. Apparently, once her ex realized he wasn't just crashing for free and that Lauren actually needed help, he disappeared fast. Left behind a half-empty closet and a couple excuses about how this wasn't what he signed up for. Turns out he was fine taking space, not responsibility. Lauren, on the other hand, was furious. Not at him, at me. She says you abandoned her, the friend told me. That you blindsided her. I didn't correct the story. I didn't need to. From her perspective, I probably did abandon her. Infrastructure always looks like abandonment when it stops working. I moved into my own place that week. Small. Quiet. No one else's chaos echoing off the walls. I paid the deposit, set up the utilities, unpacked in one night. It felt clean. Honest. What stuck with me wasn't the money or the drama. It was how easily she said, "This isn't up for discussion." How natural it felt to her to make a decision that changed my life and expect me to stay put. When I said, "No problem," I meant it. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't try to control her choices. I simply removed myself from the consequences of them. And that's what ended the relationship. Not anger, not jealousy, not even her ex. Just the moment she realized I wasn't going to keep holding everything together while she decided who mattered. Sometimes walking away isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's the calmest, clearest answer you can give. Bye-bye.